be something in the water that's making us all this away. So tell your mothers and your daughters they better stay away. 'Cause out here there's something strange.
Alrighty, welcome back to the Jofa_68 podcast. You guys ever see me leaning back in my chair at the beginning of this thing? It's loading, it's doing a countdown, and then there's a delay, and I have to wait for the screen to go bright. Catches me off guard every time, but I think I'm just going to start each podcast that way, just staring at the screen, relaxed. Episode 0002 today on abortion. 0001 was on Charlie Kirk. I spent 2.5 hours, long format, and really spoke into what I believe to be not only the case. We examined some theories, we examined facts, we examined evidence, so-called evidence, hearsay, conjecture, and everything in between. And I laid out the 10 talking points on what I believe is going on with the Charlie Kirk case. Reason I want to hit abortion, and I'm going to hit the next podcast will be on transgenderism. I'm swinging for the fence on all the big ones right out of the gate because one, Jofa for the hockey helmet, underscore, because I'm always going to seek fact, truth, and accountability, and 68 for the year I was born. The underscore is the key. Nobody cares about the hockey helmet. Nobody cares about the year I was born, but dadgummit, people should care about truth, fact, and accountability, and that's what I'm seeking. If you switch on over to our other podcast, The Daily Carry, you will see we are 116 episodes in, north of 20 million views, and I decided, as I explained in the in our first, I should say, podcast of Jofa_68, I want to do a long format. I want to be able to talk into these things. So today, episode 0002 on abortion, we're going to dive right into it. I want to kick it off by talking about the trial that is kind of captivated the nation right now, and that is Lindsay Clancy. Is that her name? Yeah, Lindsay Clancy. She's the Massachusetts mom that killed all 3 of her children, strangled them to death. And I thought, since the topic was abortion today, why not just kick right off with somebody that murdered their kids, since I believe abortion is murder. And I realized this is a forever hot and heavy topic since 1973, actually probably before 73, because there's a lot of people fighting, tongue-tied, fighting to get Roe v. Wade passed. Since then, we've had 65-ish million guesstimated abortions. 65 million. It's about a fifth of our nation's population. Imagine if you woke up tomorrow and 1/5 of our population was just gone. Just gone. And imagine if it was all people under the age of 18. Just gone. Think we'd have heartache? Struggle? So it's only a tough subject if you defend it. It's only a tough subject if you believe that it's a choice that is guaranteed to you and not murder. I, however, believe that it is as simple, black and white as you can get. It's like putting one foot in front of the other. It's like chewing gum. It's like walking across the street. It's only as hard as you make it. It's just straight up murder. And Lindsay Clancy chose to, there's, how do I say it? There's evil, and then there's Lindsay Clancy. This lady chokes the life out of 3 of her children and just watches them die because she couldn't figure out how to turn on Netflix or Prime. Couldn't bake a good quiche. Couldn't balance a checkbook. I don't have sympathy. And yet, we got people lining the street wearing pink, raising money for Lindsay Clancy, cheering her on. That is That is the evil that we're dealing with in this country. It's not enough that we've killed 65 million babies. It's that we now celebrate a woman who almost 4 years ago now killed her 3 children, strangled them to death. Strangled them. Innocent children. They didn't do anything wrong that I know of. And certainly the age they were couldn't have done anything that should have been so much of a parenting issue that you say, I think I'm going to take the life of my 3 kids. So much to talk about on the subject. So much to talk about on the subject. And the funny thing, to me, when I say funny, it's only controversial if you believe that it's your choice. It's not controversial if you believe that it's a life. And what I mean by that is there's nothing to argue if you believe it's a life. It's a life. Period. Just period. There's no ifs, there's no ands, there's no buts. If you call it something that it's not, and then put some kind of fancy term on it like the governor of Massachusetts did to get rid of the gestational period, let's just go all the way to birth. Only then does it become messy and icky and argumentative. See, if the country would just step back and realize all you're doing is killing somebody, a human that can't defend themselves, and you took as much care and love and nurture while the baby was in the womb as you do when the baby comes outside the womb, unless, of course, you're Lindsay Clancy, then you would realize this is not hard. It's not hard. Child rearing is hard. Raising a kid can be tough. Marriage is hard. Faith is hard. Brake job on a car could be hard if you've never done one, but there's YouTube videos. I mean, I think you can get through it. But for those that want to fight, stand in the streets and scream and yell and do your thing, saying, no, it's my body, my choice. You can do what you want with your body. It's still murder. It's still murder. And look, I'm going to bring up a lot of talking points today. And there's going to be some people on here this will be a very divided topic because it's a very divided topic. Transgenderism will be the next topic. That's a very divided topic. Charlie Kirk was episode 0001. That's a very divided topic. But there's a reason why these topics are divided. It's not hard to figure out. In the last episode, there are people that believe Tyler Robinson climbed on a roof and shot and killed Charlie Kirk. And then there are people that are questioning whether or not Tyler Robinson did that. It's open for public scrutiny. People are going to agree. People are going to disagree. People will fight in the streets over it if you give them a chance. But at the end of the day, I look at it pretty simply. They say follow the science. I don't know who they are, but I hear it all the time. Follow the science, follow the science, follow the science. Well, we know what happened with the science during COVID, and the ramifications will be generations deep. And there's a lot of people screaming to go after Fauci and, hang him in the square in front of everybody. Maybe back in the 1700s we would have. But, we have modern law, and God's law says to follow man's law unless man's law is evil, and then you don't have to follow it anymore. So I pick and choose some of the laws that I follow because I just don't believe some of them are honestly legal or worth following. And I'm not talking about constitutionality or Bill of Rights. I'm talking about legislation that is passed. House Bill 1025 and 1312 and 003 here in Colorado. Various topics. But at the end of the day, legislation gets passed. They say, well, it's law. Look, there was a law on the books 100 years ago here. I could beat my wife with a broomstick. Doesn't mean I should go beat my wife with a broomstick. But, somebody passed it as law back in the day. It sounds pretty absurd when you say it out loud, but to me, saying a baby inside you isn't a baby is, well, it's ignorance. It's stupid. It's a lie. You're telling yourself. Look, if bacteria is life on Mars, I'm pretty sure a heartbeat is life on Earth. And I've got all sorts of little clips of scientists saying we have found life on Mars. There's bacteria on Mars. Well, there's bacteria on the rim of a commode. Just saying. When I look at abortion, I just pull up some stats, some baseline stats. We're 65 million dead. 65 million. Hitler, what did Hitler kill? 6 million Jews and 3 million Germans and a couple million here and there, totaling how many? Stalin, 25 million. Yao, 45 million. Crusades back in the day. Look, we lost a guesstimated close to 700,000-ish in the Civil War. When the Republican Party said we're freeing slaves, grown men and women being treated like cattle, chained, beaten. Now, the black community is, from the 60s forward, it's turned into a Democratic Party. Everything's free, a handout. We lost more men in the Civil War fighting for somebody's rights that didn't have any, to only watch 100 years down the road things to start turn around and go the other direction. 100 years, century. Twin Towers fell September 11th, 2001, and now you have a Muslim in office in New York. And there's certain things you just can't make up. You just can't. You can think what you want. You can say certain things. You get screamed down, but at the end of the day, abortion, to me, is it's one of the greatest warnings in Scripture. It's one of the things you don't mess with. You don't screw around with God's creation. You certainly don't screw around with children. We got the Vatican brushing off cases of pedophilia like it's dust on a. How dare you say that, Micah? How dare you say the Vatican is brushing off cases of pedophilia? Well, because they're a bunch of pedophiles. There's a whole slew of them. That's how I can say it. Well, have you been there? No. You've been to the Vatican? No. You want to go to the Vatican? No. Any place that has 55-foot walls and machine gun armed people inside of a church where they collect billions of dollars that are brushing off cases of pedophilia? No, I don't want to go there. I care less. The whole place could crumble tomorrow, and I could care less. What I do care about, though, is the fact that grown men go in and sodomize boys. I care about that. I care about the fact that we passed legislation here in Colorado that says kids can have their bodies parts taken off. And if parents push back, they can be civilly or criminally liable. I mean, that's Jared Polis, Michael Bennett, Phil Weiser, John Hickenlooper, Jenna Griswold. I mean, this is the party of, well, they used to call themselves the party of love. That might have been true back in the 60s, by the way. I should pay homage. Back when they were all screwing each other on the grass at Woodstock, smoking pot, that was the summer of love, the party people, the Kennedy Democrats back in the day. Now we're mutilating children. Inside the womb, outside of the womb. Governor of Massachusetts, full-term abortion. I'm getting ready to go rated R for reality. We're going to do some semi-graphic descriptions. If it's too hard for you to stomach, then maybe you shouldn't support abortion. If you have a hard time listening to it because it's true, then you should be fighting to stand in the face of evil and shout down abortion and help get the laws changed. But here in Colorado, people don't read. That's the conclusion I've come to. We have unlearned, uneducated people, and you can't be learned on every topic. You can't be educated on every topic. There's too many topics. That's like trying to watch every podcast when there's 4.8 million podcasts. You can't do that. But it is what it is. And at the end of the day, I'm going to fight. Again, I said it in episode 0001. I might be the only guy rowing in this canoe uphill, but I'm going to keep rowing. And the reason I'm going to is I also said in the first podcast of Joe_68, the only thing I get to take with me are my choices. All the stuff around me, the hat on my head, the money in my pocket, my podcast studio, his office, it all stays here. But my choices go with me. And I'd much rather live knowing that my choices were grounded in what I believe to be integrity, calling out evil, standing in the face of evil, fighting evil, and putting it down if I need to. That's where I'm going to live. You don't have to live there. Nothing requires you personally to do anything. You can sit back and say nothing. You can go after nothing. You can say it's somebody else's problem, etc., etc., etc. You can do all that. I choose not to. And somebody say, you're not going to make any fans doing what you're doing. Well, I'm not trying to make fans. I'm seeking the truth. If people want to follow along, click like and subscribe. I'd appreciate it. Click like and subscribe. Hit the little bell. If you're on YouTube, I'd love to have 1 million people cheering this on, saying, yeah, abortion is murder. Abortion is murder. There's a whole follow the science thing when I said earlier. Well, I went to the CDC's website a little bit ago. I just want to make sure I confirm something. I pulled it up and said, how many abortions have we had since Roe v. Wade's inception? Some fancy AI tool came on at 64.3 million. Go to the CDC website, it says roughly 65 million. So let's just say it's north of 60. 60 million plus lives gone. I also went to the same website and I said, how many were at-risk pregnancies? The mama's going to die. You guys should do your own homework on this thing, but let's just put it this way. 98% of abortions I would throw into the convenience category. In other words, there's no risk in any way, shape, or form to anybody. I just don't want a kid inside me coming out into this earth and living some kind of life, raising them as my own. That's astonishing to me. And I'm a dude. Which, if I rabbit trail, which I tend to do, pontificate a lot, the man that was involved in said pregnancy, in wedlock or out of wedlock, does the man get a say? Or is it just her choice, her body? The reason I ask is it takes two. Last time I checked, a man and woman have to get together and bump uglies to create a child. It's the only way that I know of that it happens outside of artificial insemination. In that case, you'd still have a baby growing inside you, and it would still be from a man, just you wouldn't know who it is. So, does the man get to say? Does the man have a choice? Do they get to speak into that abortion? Do they get to speak into the taking of life? Or do you just come back and go, yeah, we shouldn't have slept together. It was my bad. I took the pill. And the guy goes, wait a second. That baby was half mine. Now, the I hate baby people, we should be able to murder a baby inside our body, or if you're Lindsay Clancy, outside of your body. What a POS she is, by the way. So funny that she got paralyzed falling off her roof. Or out her window, whatever she did. Yeah, I think that's funny. I don't know if God had any involvement in that. I think it's just she didn't know how to measure. I don't think 20 feet's going to do it, Lindsay. Clearly. Um, but back to the guy. What if he wanted to keep the baby? What if he wanted to have the baby? What if the mom didn't want to have it, but the guy did? Couldn't she still deliver the baby and let the gentleman have his child? It's his DNA. They're splitting the two. It's 50-50. That's how it works. I ask because I've met some dudes that bumped uglies with somebody. They weren't married with them. Married to him, excuse me. And the woman had an abortion. Didn't tell the guy. He wasn't happy. He said, "That's murder. You murdered me, my DNA. That was my child. You didn't ask. You just went and did it." And I get it. The woman carries the baby in her womb. Is a baby after all. Put all the technical terms on you want. Clever little terms. You guys hear the what? Let's just look this up real quick. This isn't funny to me, but the title sure was funny. Let's see. Ba-bum, ba-bum. Massachusetts governor abortion bill. Let's see what pops up. Ah, there it is. Massachusetts Governor Maura Healey signed the Prioritizing Patient Access to Care Act. Prioritizing Patient Access to Care Act. I don't even know what that means. So we're prioritizing. That means you're moving to the front of the line. Patient, which means you. Wait, patient? Access to Care Act. I guess the care is the act of killing the baby. So we're giving you priority to be a patient to have access to kill a baby. Huh. That was creative wording on their part. Maura Healey. It's going to be a heavy millstone, Maura. Let's get into a couple technical questions. I've been rambling for a little while. Abortion. Abortion's murder. Let me ask you a question. If you're pregnant, if a woman is pregnant and a suspect comes up and kills the woman and the baby dies, they can't save the baby. Is it a double homicide? I mean, I ask because if it's a double homicide, then that means what was inside the woman was a baby and it was alive. Now, to be fair, I'm retired law enforcement. I've never looked up how many states, if the woman was pregnant and had a baby and died, and the baby died, was be a double homicide. Somebody get onto Google and look that information up. Research it. Because if it's not a baby, then how can they charge the suspect with double homicide? By the way, I actually do know the answer to that, but I'm not going to say it out loud. But I will tell you, there are states that applies. Whoa, almost dropped my M&M. I did drop my M&M. There are states where it's not considered a double homicide, and there are states where it is. Let that sink in. So we have states that can't even decide whether or not it's a baby, and other states that decide it is a baby, therefore it's a double homicide, but that state is pro-abortion. Am I the only one that the irony in that is not lost on? It's fascinating to me. Fascinating. I tend to even get a little cynical. I try not to, but let's see. We're legislation in the state. We got lawmakers that are pro-abortion, yet we have laws on the books that say it's a double homicide if somebody kills a woman who's pregnant. I'm not sure you can make that up. I have a question for you. Let's well, actually, I'll frame it. I'll frame it in a story. Man, woman, get together, married, want to have children. They're in love, madly in love. They want to raise a family, want to have a family. Woman gets pregnant, goes full term, delivers the baby. Husband and wife now have a child. Child is given a name. Child now has an identity. They raise their child. Anything wrong with that? Anything wrong with that at all? That child turns 14, 15, say they're a female. And they come home one day, same parents, been loving them every day, raising, provide an amazing home. Child has a great life, playing the sports, doing the things, doing good in school, great circle of friends. But the child comes home one day because schools in America indoctrinate kids. And the child is hung out with somebody who's turned them on to being transgender. And that child comes home and says, Mom, Dad, I want to be a boy. And the parents are aghast. The same two parents that 15 and a half years ago said, let's have a baby. I want to start a family. They have that baby and they love that baby. They watch that baby grow and they give that baby everything. That baby turns into a child and then slowly starts growing towards a young adult. And they have an amazing family. But one day it all comes crashing down for the parents when the teenager walks in and says, I want to be a boy. And not only do I want to be a boy, I'm going to go, because I live in the state of Colorado, and have my body medically altered. And the parents go, no, you're not doing that. And the kid says, yeah, I am. And the law protects the child to go do that. But keep in mind, this is a child that can't buy cigarettes, can't buy beer, can't join the military, can't drive a car. But somehow they can go cut up their body. And if the parents push back, the parents can be civilly and or criminally charged, depending on to what length they go to. If you think I'm making that up, feel free to exercise your fingers on a little thing called Google and look up our House bills here in Colorado on essentially the mutilation of kids. See what you find. Feel free to push back and educate me. Now, let's go back in time. Let's say you're a couple and you had no desire to get pregnant, none whatsoever. And you weren't married and you were fooling around, and the young man got the young lady pregnant. And she says, didn't want to be pregnant, but you know what? I don't believe in abortion. So I'm gonna carry this child to term, and I would love for you to be the father. And the young man says, you know what? I didn't want to be pregnant either, but I'm gonna step up and I will be your other half and I will marry you and I will do everything to the best of my ability to be a good man, a good father to this child when it gets here. And they get into the hospital and it's the day of delivery and there's complications. Complications with the baby and complications with the mom. And they can save the mother, but there's no way to save the baby. Or they can save the baby and there's no way to save the mom. Pretty tough choice, wouldn't it be? Imagine you're standing there and you're wanting this child, but you're also wanting this young lady to be alive. See, that's a real-time event too. And I can sit here and paint scenario after scenario after scenario. I've lived some of these scenarios. I've been on the other side of some of these scenarios. Fortunately, we were blessed with two very healthy kids, and we only had two children. We don't know the toils of loss. We don't know what it's like to go full term and then still birth a child. Lots of people do. But when I think about this, when I think about the fight for life, and I think about what it is that I would do to protect a child or a female or an elder, somebody that can't protect themselves in the specific situation, but especially littles. And we have people out here in the streets raising considerable money for Lindsay Clancy, lining the streets wearing pink t-shirts, holding up their fingers like this as a symbol to the courts, like they're strangling. That's their symbol. Like they're strangling the neck of a child. And then I go back and I think about the parents that just want to have a baby who can't, or the parents that want to have a baby and that baby is born with a permanent defect or a notable defect. And those parents are going to raise and love that child no matter what. They don't take the something doesn't look right. We're taking that road out. No, they deliver that child. They walk that journey and they love that child. Again, we were blessed. We had two very healthy kids. Not everybody's that fortunate. But I know a lot of people that have had babies that were born that were not completely healthy. And those parents would die for that child. They'd walk through glass and fire. They don't look at a disability and think the child is less. But for some reason, 98% of the abortion, baby killing, mother making decision population will kill for convenience. Just don't want it. Because it's easy. Raising a child is hard. Having sex was easy. You got pregnant. Made that choice. Could have used some form of protection. Chose not to. But regardless, you got pregnant. And then you just said no. So here's a fascinating part in all this for me. This is a incredibly painful topic. Because I personally know, and I couldn't yet give you the number off the top of my head. I will tell you it is in the dozens, easily in the dozens upon dozens of people that I've known. I'm 58 years old, that lost a baby. Lost a baby. During birth or during pregnancy. Lost the heartbeat. My wife is a LPC psychologist, and I shared this story on the Daily Carry podcast, our other podcast, not long ago. I think we were episode 109, 110, something like that. My wife has clients. I know them, so this is not a confidentiality deal. They have given me permission to share. I've talked to them. They're young. They have two children together. The third was on the way. And they went full term. Very, very excited, looking forward to their third child. And these are amazing young parents, by the way. Amazing people. Young lady, who will remain nameless, was due to deliver the next morning. And she wakes up in the middle of the night before, and she does not feel the baby moving. They immediately go into the hospital, and it turns out that there's no pulse. Now, there had been that afternoon. They did a last day check. Everything was great. Everything was great. They don't know what happened. They were asleep at night. And these things happen. Medical things take place. They happen. I can tell you, and I'm on the outside looking in on this one. I know who they are. I have met them. I have talked with them. As I said, they're very sweet. Young, sweet couple. I cannot begin to tell you the anguish, the pain, the loss, the hurt, the devastation. And these are questions they will carry literally with them for the rest of their lives. Here's where this particular story gets very hard for me. They're not my kids. They're young enough to be my kids. Wasn't my grandkid being born. These are just a client of my wife. Somebody that she has seen for years. That young lady had to carry that baby inside her for 2 more days before she could deliver due to a complication. And then she had to deliver a stillborn baby, full term, 9-pound, as I understand it, baby. My wife was called to come to the hospital. And post the birth of their beautiful, and when I say beautiful, I've seen pictures, beautiful baby. My wife went in and sat down with the family. And she held the baby for almost an hour. Cradled in a cloth in Jana's arms. Just sharing with the family. When my bride got home that night, she fell into my arms. She laid down next to me on the bed and just curled right up into me and just cried. As she described this child, their little fingers and ears, and how everything was perfect. Everything was perfectly developed. She said, just a beautiful baby. This is my wife. She said it was arguably one of the most difficult things she's ever done in her life. But she knew not only did she need to be there for the family and wanted to be there for the family, the mom specifically asked her to come. They've walked a several-year journey together on the counseling side of things. But I will tell you, the anguish cannot be overstated. And I don't understand in my world how we as a society are arguing over something that is undeniable. All because we passed, keep in mind, because we passed a law. We passed a law and we gave it a fancy title. That's all that's happened. It's much like the trans nonsense. We just pass something and say, well, this is the deal. The WNBA can't figure out what woman means in their own title. And they're the laughing stock of the nation right now. But the reality is this runs much deeper than the WNBA because we can't even figure out what a baby is. Again, if bacteria is life on Mars, then a heartbeat should be life on Earth. If a person can be charged with double homicide because a woman is pregnant, then we're recognizing that there's a life inside that woman. Then what are we arguing about? I don't understand how you could be in a state that has congressional people that are pro-choice that also are signing a law into effect that create a double homicide. I can't even start to begin the conflict of interest there. And for the record, the abortion is murder, and the woman being killed with the baby is a double homicide. Let's not confuse that. It's just the fact that they stand on both sides of the fence. As my grandfather said, you can't fall off both sides of the fence at the same time, so you better pick a side. They've picked both. We as a country have picked both. We as a country, as a nation, we fight over this stuff. We go to war over it. We got people on the streets over it. We got marches. And right now you got this woman who strangled 3 innocent children to death because she was incapable of being a mom anymore. I heard the defense was arguing postpartum mental health issues. Well, she had a mental health issue. I think anybody with a brain would understand that. I don't think mental health is a defense. I don't think reason of insanity is a defense strategy. I think it's a joke. I mean, I think it's a term that we've put on as well. They're they were insane. Well, yeah, I mean, the guy that stabbed Irina Zerka to death on the subway. Remember that look of fear and terror after he had already hit her the first time? And she just slumped over in the chair and died on a subway of all places. Slimy, nasty subway. That guy stood trial 13 times prior. And then some POS lawyer came in and said, he was insane. Well, yeah, he is insane. I don't think anybody's arguing he's insane. It's just whether or not is that a defense. And if you're a POS lawyer, it's a defense strategy because you're going to get paid either way. And then you're going to come in and you're going to somehow justify for 13 times in a row. The guy could testify and the guy could, admit that he's guilty or not guilty. And, the judge hand slapped him on the wrist, or maybe in some cases it gave him a high five. I don't know. He served few years in jail for 13 different felonies. The guy should have been buried under the jail. But, some parole board lets him out. I think all those people should be buried under the jail or in jail, in my personal opinion. Probably in jail because put them downstairs and Gen Pop and see how they fare out. I think the judges should go into Gen Pop. I think the defense attorneys that fight for this stuff should go into Gen Pop. I do. I think we got a system that is so unbelievably broken that we can't figure out what a child is. And we got defense attorneys taking advantage of this stuff everywhere you twist and turn. You got prosecutors that don't want to put people in jail for any kind of maximum sentences. In most cases, it's minimum. Here in Colorado, by the way, you can pedophile a kid at least twice before you get charged and have to do any jail time on the third offense. I mean, that's Hickenlooper, that's Polis, that's Weiser, that's Bennett, that's Griswold, it's all of them. I can keep going down the list. Shoot a liberal left. Crazies. They want to scream at Trump. I'll scream at Trump for you. I like Trump. I voted for the guy. I think the guy's changed immensely. A lot of things I don't care for, but at the exact same time, tired of people coming over the border. Tired of a lot of the nonsense. But the guy hasn't followed through on Promise 1 that he made that I can come up with in 47. So, excuse me, I don't need John Hickenlooper to put 6 ads a day out telling me how Trump is bad man, but not put any ads out telling me what he's going to do for Colorado. You're a senator in Colorado and you're useless, John. You're feckless. You're built like a 12-year-old vegetarian, by the way. But you talk like you're 6'4", 220. I don't consider you a man. I consider you a politician that lives off of tax dollar supporting this nonsense. The mutilation of children. Screaming about people like Tina Peters. But at the end of the day, you don't care. As long abortion pays, man. You're getting paid. So of course you endorse it. Because you're gonna play the crowd. You're gonna say a woman's right. It's her choice with her body. Well, it's murder. You look, you can call it anything you want to call it. It's still murder. let's have some rated R fun for a second. I call this fun. This is my cynical, critical. I got to make lightheartedness of this in some way, shape, or form. So this is my version of it when it comes to abortion, and it's true, by the way. What I'm about to tell you is true. I'm not saying something is not. I'm only mocking the incredible irony in it. So when I say have fun, I mean this is a horrifically bad topic. I want you guys to stop, think about this for a second. You're a woman. You're in Massachusetts. Let's just go right to Massachusetts since they're the land of crazy up there. I thought Colorado was nuts. You got a baby. You are, man. You're right there. 39 and a half weeks. You're ready to go, man. You're ready to let's go deliver tomorrow morning, man. I'm set to deliver. You go, huh? Yeah, I don't feel like it. I've been walking around for 39 and a half weeks, and dadgummit, I just don't feel like having this baby. I'm going to go down, take a couple $100 with me, run down to the local clinic, and I'm going to get rid of this thing inside me. This thing. Huh. And you can do it in Massachusetts. You can do it. You just go down and just here I am. Well, Mrs. Smith, why would you not want your child? I just don't. Oh, okay. Well, it's a law now, so I guess you can do that. I mean, stop and think about that. Okay, now, fast forward to the next day. The baby's born. You go and you have your baby. That baby, from the moment it grabs oxygen after delivery, literally has every law known to man afforded to it. Now here's the rated R for reality part. Let's just go to the birth of the baby. So, woman's on her back, feet are in the stirrups. Doc's down there with the catcher's mitt. He's ready to go. He's like, give me your best shot. Let's get that baby out of there. She's pushing. Doc goes, crap, the baby's breech. Got to go in and get him. Let me see if I can manipulate him with my hands. Maybe I can move him around. I've been in the ER. I've seen a couple deliveries. Shoot, I've delivered a couple babies in the back of a rig. One on a kitchen floor. Huh. It ain't hard. It's fun. It's birth. It's life. Coming straight in. All three of mine were uber successful. Awesome. Tears. Mom's crying. I'm crying. Dad's crying. My partner in the rig is crying. Everybody's crying. We're cleaning up the baby. Mama's holding the baby. Still got to deliver the placenta and go through all the yuck, the fun, and the blood and the fluids. Hey, I said rated R for reality. But here's the kicker, man. Here's the kicker. Stick with me. Say the baby's breech. The doc says, I got to go in there and get him out. You realize there's about a foot and a half-ish. The baby's in the womb, let's just call it the birthing channel. Keep it simple. They're in the birthing channel. You can take the baby's life. You pull the baby out a foot and let it taste oxygen in the world, that baby's now a baby. I wonder if you push it back into the womb, if it would not be a baby again in Massachusetts. See, we're in the womb, we're in the birthing channel. I can end life. Or I deliver the baby, comes out, it becomes life. And the doctor goes, psych. Squeezes it back in. Does it no longer become a baby? I know, morbid sense of humor, right? But actually, I think it's a pretty fair question. Because that's what we're arguing on the other side. I mean, that's what the left wants you to believe, right? I mean, the baby's sitting right there. The woman's got to pee every 15 minutes. It is just all over her bladder. She's like 39 weeks. She's like, I am ready to deliver. But she could take the baby's life, according to the law. See, here's my goofy way of looking at it. You come home at night, family's here, guys are hanging out, and it's pizza night. Mom and Dad went down and got a bunch of little mini doughs, spread them out on the pan. Family of five people are going to make individual pizzas. Everybody spreads it out. They put their sauce on it. They put their toppings on it. Everybody makes a different pizza. Mama's got the oven warmed up to 400 degrees. Everybody puts their pizzas in the oven. You're going to bake them for 20 minutes. The 5-minute mark, the power goes out in the house. Did the pizza stop becoming a pizza at the 5-minute mark when the power went out in the house just because the oven wasn't on? I mean, I'm asking for people everywhere that are very, very confused about this. I think it's still a pizza. I just think it has to finish cooking. I could be wrong. I mean, I went in to make a pizza, bought the dough, got the ingredients, got the toppings, built the pizza, put the pizza in the oven to bake it, to turn it into a cooked pizza. Uncooked pizza, cooked pizza. Pizza. I'm just trying to figure out what time did it stop becoming a pizza. Is it right before I open the oven door up? So like when I'm looking through the glass, I'm like, oh man, look at that. Almost a pizza. Hey, everybody, come here. Come here, look at your almost a pizza. Dad, don't open the glass. It's not a pizza yet. Don't open the oven. It's not a pizza. Timer goes off. Dad, open the oven door. It's pizza's ready. I know. I know. I know what some of you are thinking. I'll never watch this channel again. I'm hoping the ones that will understand abortion is murder. 98% of abortions are convenience. Of the other 2.5, whatever it is, percentage points that are challenges, some of those could be medical procedures of life-saving. I did watch a doctor recently who's come to Jesus in many ways, actually, come out and say that he performed over 1,200 abortions. I believe it was 1,200 or 1,100. Forgive me, Doc. Whatever the number. I know it was north of 1,000. I think it was 1,100. Now that I say it, but I think he said 12 to 13 total. 12 to 13 out of the 11 or 1,200, whatever the number was, were medical related abortions. The others were all convenience. And then his next statement was, oh no, it was 12. I killed 1,200 babies. So he's since changed his tune. He's no longer an abortion doctor. And the agony in his face, the look in his eyes, I've killed 1,200 human beings, caught up with him. Caught up with him one day. I don't know what the trigger moment was, but it caught up with him. See, I think it's fascinating that it's not just Massachusetts. There's 9 other states that go full term. I'm just surprised here in Colorado we don't go post term. I mean, we've done everything but that. We've given it to where now teenagers can go in and we've passed a law where they can go in and mutilate themselves and nobody can tell them not to. We're just missing that segment in between birth and like teenageism. I'm just surprised they've not made it legal for a 5-year-old to do assisted suicide. That seems like that. I'm guessing that'll be next. I don't know. I mean, this is dark subject matter, right? This is as bad and as horrific as it gets. I believe that we have our Creator up above that is. We laugh at it, but I think the millstones that are going to be wrapped around people's necks are it's but an example of what's coming. And people can look at me. Look, you can call me whatever you want to call me. You'll hear me say this statement often. Say it on our other podcast, on the Daily Carry. I'll say it on here. As far as I can spit against a Category 5 hurricane, do I care what you think about my statement that abortion is murder? I don't care. Don't care. I don't care. I don't care what keyboard warrior says, whatever I don't care. And it's not because I'm looking for a fight, and it's not because it's not because I'm literally swinging at you. I'm just talking about a fact of something. That to me, is like you picking up a hammer and saying you're going to hit your thumb really, really hard with that hammer. And I go, that's probably not a good idea because that's going to hurt. You're more than likely going to turn your thumb into sausage. And then you do it and you scream and you're like, oh, in agonizing pain. And I look at you and I go, what were you thinking? It's really dumb to argue with logic that nobody can argue with unless you have to place it into a law and put it into legislation that says now we can argue with you. You hit your thumb repeatedly with a hammer, it's going to hurt. I think everybody on the planet knows this. Now, there's some people that pick up that hammer and do it anyway just to prove the point. But if you hit it really, really, really hard, it really, really, really hurts. And you're telling me that you just don't know that automatically? Like I have to convince you of that? You don't know that baby inside you is a baby? That you want to get caught up in semantics and technical terms and little things? Here, let me read something to you real quick. Just had it up. Massachusetts Governor Mara, whatever, Healy, signed the Prioritizing Patient Access to Care Act. She did it on August 10th, by the way, 2026. Prioritizing Patient Access to Care Act. I'm signing the ability for you to come in and kill your baby up until and before it comes out of the birthing channel into the real world. Act. Maybe that was too long of a title. I don't know. I find it strangely odd that there were a group of women behind her cheering, jeering, jumping up and down, clapping. You would have thought she just gave them all a winning lotto ticket of $1 billion each. They're celebrating the ability to commit murder inside their own body. And the people that have a problem with it are being screamed down and called whatever phobe we are. We're pretty much the same people that said the same thing about COVID. Remember that little thing? Those were the same people that were passing laws to go arrest people or regulate how many people you could, say, have at Thanksgiving dinner. And the doc, the most notable named doc on the planet, has now pleaded the fifth 111 times, I think it was. Follow the science. I plead the fifth. Follow the science. I can't have it. Follow the science. Can't answer that. Follow the science. I have to defer to my attorney. Follow the science. This was the same guy lecturing. See, they're all in their little merry band of friends. Little circle of friends. Little circle. And at the end of the day, they're all telling you what something is or is not, and that you should follow it. Charlie Kirk. The state, the FBI, we've got our evidence. We've got our man. We've got the DNA. We've got the gun. We've got the love letters. We've got the car. We've got the 4K footage that looks like Bigfoot from 1968. We've got it all. Believe us. Question nothing. Turning Point USA, Andrew Colvett, question nothing. What? Somebody tells me not to question something, you know the first thing I want to do? Yep. Anybody with a brain already knows that answer. But the people on the outside looking in that can't critically think for themselves can't figure out, they can figure out how to bump uglies. They can figure out how to have a really good time. They can do it in a whole lot of erotic positions. And then when a child all of a sudden comes into the picture, it's like they forgot that that was the byproduct of that night. Now, whether they're married or not married, I mean, that matters to me, but at the end of the day, is still a baby either way. Baby doesn't require a marriage license to come into this earth, but I believe it should be between husband and wife, and I believe in marriage, and I believe one man, one woman, and, you know, unity and all that. I think that's, you know, a little part of my background, my faith, my history, who I am. But I mean, technically, I don't need that for the baby. I need to bring life and protect life. And the crazy thing is when it's in the birthing canal in Massachusetts, it's not life. And then when it comes out, it's life. And the separation in distance is like a foot to a foot and a half. I mean, that's like from one side of my computer screen to the other. Not a life, a life. Not a life, a life. Push it back in. I wonder if it's not a life anymore. That image is in my mind now. Okay, somebody said something to me this morning that popped into my mind. I asked them a question. Well, what do you think? Wow, I hadn't thought about it that way. I don't know, me either. What do you think? And they go, it's a good question. When you put it back in, so does it suddenly become life because it's hitting oxygen outside? Is that what it is? I mean, what's the defining factor? I mean, I know what it was during COVID. COVID could be spread if you didn't follow blue painters tape down the aisle of your local convenience store that was going in one direction. Remember that? Remember the blue painters tape all over the ground? 6 foot social distance. Who came up with 6 foot, by the way? When you breathe, it doesn't like land on the cans next to you. No, it doesn't do that. You know, I'll have to do an episode sometime on COVID, and I'll pull up clips. I'll do all over. Said like the whole thing will just be like a reaction video. we'll just do a 2.5 hour episode on reaction videos to COVID stuff. Be epic. I remember went through a Taco Bell drive-through. Never forget this. Went through a Taco Bell drive-through. Height of COVID. Ladies wearing a mask. I'm wearing no mask. Never wore a mask. And I'm in my Jeep. I got the doors off my Jeep, and I pull up to the drive-through window. There's this young lady. She's wearing a mask. She's wearing gloves. And she tells me the total, and I hand her cash. I don't use a card for anything. I hand her cash. I got to do a whole episode on COVID. This will be so much fun. I hand her the cash. She opens up the till. She's actually trying with oversized latex gloves, basically, to pull change out, physical change, not just dollar bills, but change. She couldn't grip it. She kept dropping it. And I said, you know what? I said, just give me the $3 back and you can keep the change. Don't worry about counting back the change. She said, are you sure? Like this, are you sure? Yeah, I'm sure, because I'm trying to actually get my food and at the same time save your frustration of picking up this change. And then she turns around and she grabs, it was a box, Taco Bell box. And she grabs it and she puts it in the paper bag. She seals the paper bag. She staples the paper bag. She puts the paper bag on top of a tray. She slides the tray out the window so that I can grab the paper bag off of the tray. To which then she takes the tray back in, and I've got my bag of Taco Bell. Yummy Taco Bell. And I open up the bag, and I go, oh, There's no fire sauces. I got to have fire sauces. Can you give me some fire sauces? And she says, sure. And she turns around, she grabs the fire sauces, and she puts them in a bag. She staples the bag. She puts it on the tray. She sticks the tray back out the window, and I take the bag. I grab it, and I said, hey, thank you very much. I said, you've been very, very nice. I'm really sorry you're having to go through this. She's like, yeah, this kind of sucks. I said, yeah. I said, I do have a question for you, though. Technical question. I said, do you change your gloves? Your gloves, not your gloves. Your gloves. Do you change your gloves between handling the food, the money, and then handing the food back over to people outside? And she said, what do you mean? And I said, I mean exactly what I said. Do you change the gloves? Because I just handed you what could be COVID money, and you handled it with the gloves. And then you reached over and you took your COVID gloves and you touched my box of food. And then you took that and you put it into a paper bag. And then you put it on a tray, and you've clearly touched that same tray repeatedly with that same pair of gloves. Have you ever thought about that? And she said, oh my gosh. And I said, it's okay. I'm just joking. I'm not wearing a mask, and I don't care what I touch. And at the end of the day, if I get something, I get something. But I'm not going to walk around living in fear. I tell you that whole story in the middle of this video or podcast on abortion because we lost our minds during COVID. We've lost our minds since 1973. And we've killed north of 64 million, I believe it is, was the actual number on the CDC, 65 million babies. Killed them. Killed them. Killed them. And this is the same people that were putting blue painter's tape on the floor in the grocery store and at Hobby Lobby. In fact, I'll tell you a quick Hobby Lobby story, just to keep this moderately entertaining before we bring this to a close. I went in, I got yelled at for not having my mask on, and I continued walking because I was going to go spend money in their store because I needed something. I got to a four-way intersection of blue painter's tape that was all pointing in opposite directions. I didn't know where to go. It was a four-way intersection of blue painter's tape. And if you stood there and I got the picture, I saved it on my phone. No matter what direction I went, it would have taken me into the oncoming traffic where I would have run into COVID because COVID was only going in one direction because all the arrows were going one way in one aisle and then back the other direction in another aisle. That's how you kept from contaminating each other with COVID. Blue painter's tape, sending you in one direction only. Heaven forbid you got halfway down that aisle and needed to walk backwards 22 feet because you realized the item was back there. You had to go in a big circle. You had to play NASCAR. You had to go around the horn and come back. And then you had to get up there and stand in line 6 feet apart. I love the 6 foot. Love the 6 foot rule. And then you got up there and there's a woman behind plexiglass staring at you with a mask and gloves on, looking at you going, sir, you don't have a mask on. I said, are you telling me this because you think I don't know? Well, you can't be in the store. And yet, here I am. It's crazy. Standing right in front of you in the store. You want to sell me this item? Well, I'm supposed to tell you that you can't be in the store. I understand that. And the longer I stand here, the more you could die from COVID that I don't have. Or you could just ring me up and I could leave. And for some reason, they always rang me up and I left. Worked out just fine. Oh, by the way, I got really, really sick from COVID. I'm not mocking it. I darn near died. I had 17 days. I actually was on the borderline of death. I had 104 fever off and on for 4 days. I was taking ice baths. I was being wrapped in wet towels. You know what I didn't do? I didn't go to the ER and die. And for every single person out there that lost a family member, my heart breaks for you because nobody knew what to do and everybody was scared. And while I sound cynical and I'm joking about the blue painter's tape, the truth of the matter is COVID was awful. Killed millions of people. And it appears we have a handful of people that are responsible for it and they're pleading the fifth. I want you guys to think about that. 65 million babies have been killed. And we got people going, yeah, it was out of convenience. Pretty much. And then we got fancy pants attorneys in Massachusetts going, let's give this thing a really fancy title and yet still somebody could walk in for $200 and have this baby cut right out of them. Right up till the moment of. But the second it hits air, how dare you not treat this baby like a baby? How dare you? I defy you to come to the state of Massachusetts and do anything to a 4-month 4-month. I can't even talk. 4-minute old baby. 4-month. 4 minutes old, man. 4 minutes old. This baby has every right afforded to us on the planet, but definitely here in the state of Massachusetts. How dare you? 5 minutes ago, not a baby. Not a baby at all. You crazy, kooky Charlie Kirk conspiracy theorist, COVID reactionist people. Look, if you haven't figured it out at an hour and 9 minutes and 54 seconds into this podcast, I think abortion is murder. I think Charlie Kirk was deep state murdered. I think transgenderism is arguably the dumbest thing I've ever seen in my life next to wokeness. And at the end of the day, people are going to scream me down and yell. But I'm not looking for a fight. I really don't care. I'm just going to say the truth. So I'll give you a couple examples and then I'll close out. I'm not making this podcast 2.5 hours because I guarantee you there'll be a 2.0 and a 3.0. But right here in this jar, I'll put it up by the camera. I don't know if you can see it. Oh, there's little baby M&Ms. You don't have to believe it. Can you hear me crunching? Those are baby M&Ms. Does that look like a Kit Kat bar to you? Look like a Twix? See, somebody could say it's a Twix because there's chocolate inside a Twix bar. But that's a baby M&M. Little mini M&M. Baby. I like baby better. Abortion, let's call it a baby M&M. At the end of the day, these little mini M&Ms that are in here, buy them in a 1-pound bag. I like them. I like snacking on them. But nobody's going to tell me that they're a Twix or a Reese's. They're just not. I think anybody on the planet who knows what a Twix or a Reese's or an M&M is could sit back and go, that's a Twix or a Reese's or an M&M. And yet we can't figure out what a baby is. We can't figure out what a heartbeat is. We got states that a woman is killed and has a baby and it's not a double homicide. See, I'm seeking truth. I don't know how good my podcast is going to be, but I'm always going to spit facts. Jofa _68. Jofa for the helmet _ for facts and truth. Reaching for accountability. 68 for the year I was born. The underscore will always be, I could just call it the underscore podcast. But I already had my handle up on X and YouTube and Instagram, which, by the way, I've not launched. I didn't say that in the previous, in the double or 0001 episode, and this is 0002. I didn't tell you I've not launched those yet. I mean, they're up. I said, let me correct that. Let me recant that statement. They're up. I've not made an official announcement of a launch. My YouTube channel's probably got 100 videos on it. I've never told anybody. There's no views on any of them. My X platform is up. I get a few people that respond. But I've not officially announced it. I wanted to get this platform up and running. And by episode 10 is my goal. Episode 10 is to have it shot out on YouTube and Spotify and Rumble and whatever else we're going to do. And I will have cute little names down at the bottom. Like we used to call them pound signs back in the day. Now they call them hashtags. That's why the Me Too movement was so funny when it first came out, because I'm 50-some years old. I was like, pound Me Too? That's kind of weird. It's a weird name for a movement against abuse. But, hashtag Me Too. So I'll have my little hashtags, my little pound signs that'll say Jofa _68 and each of my areas that I'm going to be broadcasting onto. And why am I doing this? Because I'm truth seeking. That's it. Not picking fights, not looking for a fight. I don't mind fighting people, but that's not what this is about. It's about truth seeking. It's about sitting down. And here's the genuine part. I've done a lot of fact in here and a little bit of cynicism, a little bit of overlay with some laughter, because the hard part is for me, here it really comes at you, the truth, deep, dark, hard truth for me. I don't really think abortion is murder. I think it's sad. It breaks my heart. It breaks my heart that a woman wouldn't want to keep a life inside her. There's people that will argue extenuating circumstances, and I've heard them, and I've even at times gone, yeah, I kind of get where you're coming from. I mean, a gang rape, a brutal gang rape, it's still a child. It's still a child that can be put up for adoption because there's parents out there that can't have a child. But I've been there. I understand that. I get that. I get the argument. I get the moral argument. I get the the question and the hurt and the pain of a victim. You know, wasn't a cop forever, but I was a detective for quite a while. I've worked my share of rape cases. It's brutal. It's hard, man. I want to go put every one of those guys under the jail. Anybody that hurts a woman, hurts a child. I want to hunt them down, capture them, put them in bracelets, let them spend the rest of their life stuck in their own head in a 8x10 cell. I want all that. I want politicians to admit it. I want term limits. I want a lot of different things in life that I'm not going to get. Shoot, I would like little M&Ms to be fat-free. Yeah, ain't going to happen. So I just have to play twice as much hockey. But I want the truth. I want the truth, and I want young women to know that they're loved and cared for, and you don't have to give up that baby. You don't have to. Regardless of how you got there, you don't have to. The flip side of that coin is if you don't care and you're just going to go kill, then you're going to suffer eternal damnation. I would much rather for you to have eternal salvation. I'd much rather, even if you've had an abortion and you wake up one day and go, I feel terrible. Ask for forgiveness. Get on your knees. Ask for forgiveness. Pray. Get somebody to walk alongside you. Figure out a road to recovery. There's really good men and women out there that will walk you through the journey and help you find peace. It's got to be hard. For some of you that have questioned whether or not it's the right thing to do, it's not. Don't kill the baby. But if you have, and you're looking for redemption, it's available. It's available. I believe that across the board for just about everything in life, if you really mean it. I've known men. Look, I was sodomized 2 straight years in the church. Pretty ironic that I ran a safety ministry for a mega church, 10,000 people, and we had the county. I'm trying to think what the office was. Anyway, we had a county agency that came to us and said, we have people that are registered sex offenders but still want to go to church. And due to the stipulations on some cases, it wasn't always physical. It might have been something that was visual, or they sent an email to what they thought was an adult or a kid, and ended up being an adult. And they got caught. They never laid hands on somebody, and so the restrictions were they couldn't be in the direct proximity by themselves of a kid, but they could come into a public place. They reached out to us and said, "Would you allow them to come to church?" And I said, "Only if we have somebody that was on Overwatch with them." We had Sunday mornings where we had 3 or 4 guys. There was always guys, by the way. Never had a gal. There's gals out there, but 3 or 4 guys that would come in. We had a very, very strict set of rules. They had to check in. We had to be with them. They could come to service and leave immediately. They couldn't be around kids. But it's kind of crazy when you're sodomized in a church and you later go, I think everybody has the ability to have forgiveness. I believe that. That doesn't mean that I don't harbor anger. Doesn't mean that I don't carry frustrations. Doesn't mean that I'm not mad at people. Doesn't mean that I don't want accountability. I want accountability. I've worked with people that have wronged me. I've worked in situations where I wanted to take somebody out back and take them to a Kansas wheat field for 3 days and have my way with them. But I also know it's not good to carry bitterness in your heart and let go. So my little sermon here at the end is if you're on the fence, don't abort, because you're killing a baby. You can't keep the child. Somebody will adopt. There's no reason. There's no reason to abort. There's no reason to murder that child. because that's what it is. Plain and simple. Heavy topic, heavy episode, but at the end of the day, it's very black and white. It's very simple. There's nothing hard about this. We only make it hard in society. Look, I'm going to say this. There are a handful of Republicans that believe in pro-choice stuff. I don't know how you do that. I just don't. I don't get it. This is pretty much predominantly a left-leaning issue, and I think we all know this. I can't find anything in America that the liberal left touches that it makes better for America. But they have a very clever way of twisting words. They make a lot of things that are very, very bad sound good. I'm not a big fan of that. Not a big fan of that at all. I don't like it. And abortion is one of them. We've been doing it since 1973. And we have 65 million kids that have died at the hands of liberals. For the most part. Not all, but for the most part. There's an indoctrination that has taken place in this country that tells people that bad is good and good is bad. And on that note, I'm going to end episode 0002 of Jofa_68, the podcast. Today's episode, abortion. We will definitely 2.0. Definitely 2.0 this. Peace out.